And our clients, like I said earlier, they're consumers at some level, and they are comparing the experience they have with you, just as the experience they might have with a big machine company. They're going to compare it to the great experiences they have with it. Their favorite businesses are the ones that take care of them the most. Best service experience they've ever had, that's their benchmark.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be an absolute fun one. It marks the return of one of our very favorite guests. He's a customer service expert and overall awesome person. Shep Hyken, welcome back to the podcast.
Well, it is great to be here, Michael. Thank you for having me back.
Well, it's great to have you. And, Shep, you've been on a couple of times on the podcast. You've done a few things for us over the years. It's always a great learning opportunity. And so for those people that maybe haven't listened to one of those episodes, let's catch them up a little bit on who you are. Give us just a little bit of your career journey leading up to this point, and then let's jump into some stuff that is right up your alley of customer service.
Sure. And I am a customer service and experience expert. If you're sitting next to me on an airplane and you say, Shep, what do you do for a living? Or they don't know my name, but they will. What's your name? Shep. Nice to meet you, Shep. What do you do for a living? I ask them a question. Have you ever walked away from a business and thought, wow, those people are amazing. They treated me so well. I love doing business with them. Well, that's what I help my clients achieve, whether they're small businesses like our businesses typically are, the people that are listening to our show today, or whether they're Fortune 50 companies that are looking to improve a culture or create an experience, bump it up a level, whatever. So I have some of the greatest clients. I always say I've got clients in the Fortune 50 and clients with less than 50 employees.
I love that. And I love the opener to what you do. And it really sums it up very, very nicely and has me think right away. Go ahead.
Think about this. That's nothing to do with service and experience, but somebody once taught me a long time ago that you get quickly labeled for identifying yourself as, I'm a bookkeeper, I'm an accountant, I am a CPA, I sell life insurance. You can go on and immediately go, okay, I know what you do, or I don't know and I don't care. But if you appeal to them in such a way that I can relate to that. And when I ask somebody, have you ever experienced that? And they go, yes, then I know they know what I do. And I don't, at that point when I tell them, well, that's what I do. I help my clients achieve that results. And they will then ask, well, how do you do that? If they want to keep the conversation going. I say, well, before I tell you that, tell me what you do. Because right away, I want to know two things. Is what I'm about to share with them going to mean anything to them? Like, how do I do that? I'm not going to tell them I'm a keynote speaker at conferences all over the world. And if they have nothing to do with conferences all over the world, I don't need to go that direction. But if they say, well, I'm actually the CEO of a mid-sized company, I go, oh, this is going to be a good plain conversation.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
So I want to identify, or for lack of a better term, even qualify this passenger sitting next to me. Is he or she or they going to give me an answer that will allow me to share my information and move the conversation toward being able to help their company? And I know that's a little sales and marketing type of perspective, but I think it's a really cool thing. My friend, Mark LeBlanc, and following up with that, my good friend, Lois Kramer, who worked for me for 4 years, they said, you've got to have this identifying statement. And my identifying statement, if I had to sum it up, is I work with companies or clients that want to build loyal relationships with their customers and employees. That's my defining statement. The questioning thing came from a couple other people who thought that was a great idea. And actually, I like to blend them together when given the opportunity. But anyway, so that's enough about me. How about you? There we go. That's the plain conversation.
I love that. Well, let's just park that one for a second and talk about it, because I think our listener needs to get open their checkbook, or nowadays get in their email cash transfer and send you some money, because that is like $1,000 tip.
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. Venmo, Shep
Hyken. I'll tell you what.
Just kidding.
Yeah, we should get that down. Let's get your wire transfer set up here.
Yeah.
So no, in all seriousness though, such a fun way to have a conversation with someone new. And right away, we constantly talk about being labeled as something, because, it's like, how much of a conversation starter is, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a bookkeeper. Well, just like you said, they have a preconceived notion, perhaps, or not, like you said, of that. They either don't care, they don't understand it, or it's not very interesting to them. But to give that, have you ever had a bad experience with the tax authority?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, let me tell you about it.
Who's going to say no to that?
Yeah, let me tell you about. Have you ever been, And then it's like, you can tell this. It's like, well, I help people have a much more enjoyable experience with that, and everybody like, well, tell me more. Well, no, first tell me what you do. I mean, that is such an eloquent way of meeting somebody new and networking. Now, of course, maybe you got another expertise here, which is networking guru.
I think we've tapped that out.
We tapped it out.
That's more networking capability.
Well, you can go a long way on that gold. Let me tell you, that is gold. We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed by compliance and stuck in the cycle of day-to-day bookkeeping tasks? Then it's time to reposition yourself as a high-value advisor and achieve the work-life balance you deserve. On March 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern, Lisa Campbell is kicking off the Accelerator Method Masterclass series, and you won't want to miss it. Discover the actual step-by-step method to escape compliance and overwhelm and build the business that delivers the lifestyle you want to live. Lisa will reveal the secrets to staying on top of everything, meeting deadlines, impressing clients, and attracting high-end clients to command the fees you deserve. This free masterclass series is an incredible learning opportunity to level up your bookkeeping business. Don't miss out. Visit thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/A2A to reserve your seat now. That's thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/A2A. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. So now we have our listener who may or may not have listened to a previous or know about you. They kind of know what you're talking about and what we're doing here. And so let's talk about, the last time, we're in 2024 right now. What's going on? What's happening in the world of customer service that's different or surprising to you? I'd love to start there.
I'm not so sure I'm seeing anything that's surprising, but I'll tell you, as I look at the trends, and we just got a research back. Every year I do a study. I try to do I send out the survey to more than 1,000. This year we did about 2,200 consumers weighted to the U.S. Census for age, ethnicity, geography, gender, et cetera, et cetera. And what I found, and it's really amazing, is now I've been doing this for 5 years. Every year when we ask the same question, how important is customer service? And I give them a bunch of options as far as what's important. Like, do they want convenience? Do they want price? Do they want product? Everything. The customer service topics have been trending higher and higher every single year. So that tells me, again, customer service, client service, if we want to call them clients, is more important than ever. And keep in mind that our clients, whether they're, a lot of people think, well, I did a B2C, business to consumer study. True. However, every one of our clients, if they are small businesses, if they're individuals that don't have anything to do with a consumer business and they work at a business, doesn't matter. Maybe they're big business, they aren't consumer based, doesn't matter, because even if the numbers are a little bit different for a B2B world, it still applies. The concepts do. As a matter of fact, I would venture to say it's even more important than ever that in the B2B world, we manage the experience. And I'll tell you why, because I walk into a mall and I want to buy a sweater, and I might be able to go to 35 different stores if it's a large mall. And by the way, that's not just a mall. It's one of maybe 25 malls that are within driving distance. Lots and lots of options for me. But depending on the kind of business I'm in, I may only be taking on maybe 25 clients, where a retail store can take on 25 customers an hour. And do you see the difference? If I lose one of my clients, I may have to work a lot harder to replace that client and the income. I have one particular client, and I use this example quite often. It's a robotic machine. There's only about 3, maybe 4, depending on what they're buying, manufacturers of this type of equipment in the world. And when this company sells this huge piece of machinery worth well over 7 figures to a company, it sits there for about 10 to 12 years before it's replaced. But in the meantime, there's an annual contract, maintenance and repairs and upgrades and whatever. And this company, whoever the customer is, will pay for this. Now, if for some reason along the way the service is bad, when it comes time for renewal, guess what? This is thought of. How was the experience over the last 12 years? Well, if they've been missing it the last few years, I'm opening this up for another company to bid to sell me their machinery. And my client said, if we mess up because of customer service, it becomes what they refer to as a generational mistake. It's like an entire generation goes by before they get the chance to go back in and have that opportunity to resell them if they blow it. So I don't think it's quite that bad for us in the bookkeeping business, but I just realized that we don't have hundreds of clients a day coming in our stores. We have a handful of clients that we really focus on and we build relationships with. And if we lose one of them, how do we replace that? So keep that in mind when you have client service. Very important to consider. Same concepts, different numbers, consumers versus business, but it's the same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a great example, and very, very targeted at where our bookkeeping firms, where they can think about their clients and how they retain them. And also there's a lot of talk about selling premium services as well. So it's connected to, we don't want to just have customers paying us the same, but if we're trying to get more revenue from the same customers as well, how else are we going to impress them or make them say, look, this is so valuable, I can't live without this, and the experience that I have is so great, why would I ever think about changing?
Right. And that's what I want them to be. I want our clients to say, it's a risk to go somewhere else. So I don't want to take that risk. And the risk is I'm not going to get the service I deserve. So understand that a great service experience does several things. Number one, it raises the level of trust. I think this year it was 87%. It's either 83 or 87% of people feel this year that if you create a great service experience, I will trust you more. So if you don't return my phone calls quickly, if you don't respond to my emails quickly, that is a bad service experience. And I'm going to be frustrated with you. And I don't know if the next time you're going to get back to me or not. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call you. And hopefully you're going to answer. And if you don't answer, how long is it going to take for you to call me back and waste my time? Because by the way, if I wanted to wait 3 days for you to answer my question, I would have waited 3 days to reach out to you to ask the question. I know I'm going off on a little bit of a rant, but the point I'm trying to make is the service experience becomes really important. Another huge percentage, I believe it's around high 80s in percentage of customers are willing to go out of their way, spend a little bit more time, take a little bit more effort to do business with the company or brand or a service provider that gives them a better experience. Two things to think about there. Am I going to lose because somebody else is better than me, or I'm the one that's going to be so good that I'm taking business away from others? So you got two ways to think about that. And I really want you to put those two thoughts together, because service has never been more important. And our clients, like I said earlier, they're consumers at some level, and they are comparing the experience they have with you, just as the experience they might have with that big machine company. They're going to compare it to the great experiences they have with it. Their favorite businesses are the ones that take care of them the most. Best service experience they've ever had, that's their benchmark.
Very exciting opportunity when you think about it, and I love the way you frame that. We want to be so great that people are coming to us. We're retaining the people we have, and we have others walking down the street to us. Now, one thought that could come up is people could say, well, how am I going to, if I'm a smaller business, how am I going to compete with the larger business that has more revenue and resources where they can do a better job of service? What would you say to that?
I would say, I don't think that's true. I think we can do a great job. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew. Many years ago, I used to go to this auto dealership, and every time it was time to bring my car in, I felt it was almost like going to the dentist. I just don't like going to the dentist. It's not that I don't like my dentist. I just don't like his hands down my throat, looking at my teeth. It's never a great experience. Well, it's the same thing. Do we want to create pain when our customers come to us? And I believe those larger companies don't do a better job than smaller companies. They can, okay? And by the way, it's the other way around too. Here's my point with the auto dealership. They sold a lot of cars to the point where going to the service department was painful because they were too small for the number of cars that were out there. So how many clients do you have? Do you have so many clients that you can't service them properly? Because over time, you will see attrition because of not being able to serve them. And guess what that comes with? That comes with people saying why they left you to their friends when they're talking. And guess what that means? If one of their friends is one of your clients, they're going to put this negative thought into their head. You can't afford to outgrow who you are. So the larger firms, they are bigger. And I don't think they do a better job or worse job when it comes to a customer experience or a client experience. They may have an extra person on staff that could return a call. Well, guess what? If you don't, you still need to return the call. So how are you going to do it? Make it work. Don't take off more, or don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't take more clients than you can reasonably support. And if you want to grow, there's different ways to grow. You grow by bringing colleagues on and letting them take some of the work away. And maybe, and by the way, it's not easy to say to one of your clients, hey, I now have so-and-so working with me. We're a team. And every once in a while, you're going to hear from him or her instead of me or they. So trying to be very woke in today's woke society, trying to hit all of it. And I'm probably failing still at that. But I'm very conscious of it.
Well, that's good and good for you. And yes, I think in this world, you can't but fail. At some point, someone's going to point out you've failed at something.
I used to, as I walked out and people would applaud as I was, coming on stage. Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot to talk about today. I can't say that anymore.
No.
Because somebody's going to say, I do not. And I know we're getting off the topic. And by the way, I'm totally cool with this. I'm just trying to change the habit of something I've done for, decades, and trying to get in the habit of knowing this is what's right today. And I want to fit in and I want to make it relevant. And I don't want to be losing points because I've misstated something that, is important to a lot of people today.
That's right. It's pretty tight. And in terms of what we can and can't say and what people, because it's just so broad. We have, who could be listening or there. Like both of us grew up generation ago almost, right? And when we were growing up, it was at least, yes. And it was just different, right? And different expectations. And it was not still quite a while ago where I had that same experience where I said something that my language is very masculine. when I'm talking, or it wasn't including a feminist perspective. And I was like, I got that feedback from a presentation that I did, and I was like, what? I was so upset. Like, what did I say?
Yeah.
And I listened to the recording and I couldn't find, but that's the thing. And it ties back to customer service, is that everybody's perception is their own perception. And you could get caught up in trying to please everyone. And guess what? You can't. And I remember hearing my uncle say it like 35 years ago. He said, you can't please everyone, so just please yourself.
Well, that's, I think, I appreciate
but that was 35 years ago.
And if that would work, I'd be a very, very happy dude.
Yes, we all would.
Part of what I preach and teach
today.
is that, we do need to be happy and confident with ourselves, but we want to do what's right by the customer. And to the point where we don't think we can, it's okay to say, we're not a fit for you, and fire the customer, or client in the right way. Okay.
That's what we got a little off topic, and that's what I wanted to come back to what you said there. And I want to really highlight it, put it in neon here, is I hear so often people talking about how they can't they're overwhelmed, they don't have the capacity, but yet they have a whole bunch of clients that they complain about that aren't supportive or appreciative or paying well. I'm like, get rid of them. You've really laid it out. If you don't have the ability to service your best clients in the best possible way, go and look. If you want to find some capacity, get rid of those complainers, get rid of those people that aren't satisfied or aren't valuing you, so that you can do a better job and retain the good ones. Then go find a couple more great ones and fill the business with that.
Before we jumped on this interview, you and I were talking about Dan Sullivan, the strategic coach. By the way, if anybody's interested, I get nothing from this. I went to the program for 20 years. So I love the program. It starts out with, do you want to try it for a year? And then you realize it's a 3-year commitment to get his basic program. Once a quarter, fly to wherever the meetings are. I was flying to Chicago. They have meetings in Toronto. Anyway, I digress. There is a tool that Dan taught, and it's a way to determine whether this is the client. It's the right fit client, I believe is what he called the tool. And you create a criteria. I personally like the idea of 5 criteria. And it's been a while since I've done this, but you think about this, and everybody listening, think about this. What is important to you as a client, with a client? Number 1, I want clients that pay. Okay. So if I have a fee, they pay. We don't have to argue about the fee. It is what it is. And they're happy to do it because I provide the value for them and I'm making them happy. Number 2, I want clients that are going to appreciate the hard work that I do for them, because everything I do for them is all about them. And if I give my 100% and they just keep pushing and pushing because they're not happy, I've got to decide. Anyway, we can go down the list. Clients that pay, clients that appreciate, clients that aren't a pain in the pita, pain in the rear end, if you will.
You dollar sign.
Right. You can create 5 criteria and rate each client 1 to 5. And what Dan says is that if you've got 25 point possible and you can get 20 or higher, this is the right fit client for you. He also said you can use this tool for any project or new thing you want to take on. And you can change the criteria, but try to create 5 criteria that make sense so that you can evaluate this on a scale of basically 1 point to 25 points, with each of these pieces being worth 5 points each. So, you've got a client that is, maybe it's one of my criteria is this client a long-term client or is it a one-off client? Well, I want to work with long-term clients. So guess what happens? It's either a yes or no. So it's a 1 or a 5. So that's pretty easy. Everything else has got to fall into line. Maybe one of these criteria could drop to a 4, but I need to get a 20 or above for me to decide whether I want to keep this client. And the next step is, if we don't think it's going to be a good fit, it's sometimes better to let them go. because it's is this client one that's demanding? Does this client respect my people? Does this client respect my process that I go through? Because when we sell ourselves to our clients, we sell a process. We sell what we do, and maybe we've got things that we do differently than other people in our industry. And are they going to appreciate, support that? So anyway, I know that's a long-winded way of going with it, but he's got that. It's a qualifier. I think he used to call it the right fit client, and I could be wrong, but
think it's
that
the right
is the
fit.
exercise. But don't worry about the title.
I think that's it. I've seen it before, and I do have friends that have been involved in Dan Sullivan's work, and they love it as well. And so we'll see if we can find a link to that exercise.
Strategiccoach.com.
Yeah.
And he might, I don't know if you can get actually links to the exercises that are within his.
I think
there
he's
are
put out
certain things that he does share.
A lot of great resources he's put out.
Yep.
I've read several of his books, and I know he's got lots of feeders, and that might be one that you can get as a sample. It's such a fundamental piece, and I think it ties right back to the work you do as well, and even that conversation in the plane. If you know who your ideal customer is and the right fit client is, when you ask, what is it that you do and who are you, you're qualifying that person as to whether they ever will be a client or potentially a referral partner or something along those lines. It just shows up everywhere in the business. How do you satisfy and give good service to somebody that you don't even know who they really are? If you're bringing in right fit clients, your service is going to be easier to give, I'm guessing, because you can satisfy them better because they're the right fit for you.
Right. That's right.
There you go. So now on the topic of that, we talked about, look, is it better to be big? Can I keep up with a bigger company? And you've pointed out a lot of reasons why being a small and mighty business gives you maybe an advantage. So if there were some really key things that you would suggest that our client think about when it comes to their own service, what are the hot pieces? You've already given us a whole bunch of great gold already, but Shep, what are some of those really, you got to be thinking of these, 3 or 4 things.
Well, I think one of the most important things is to understand why somebody chooses to do business with you over a competitor. Because once you start to understand that, you start to understand where your competitive advantage might be. So I think that number one, it's expected that you have competency in, why they hire you. Bookkeeping, tax, you refer to yourself as a tax authority, however you want to call yourself. Are you that? Because it's expected that you do what you say you would, just as if you were to go out and if I'm buying this mouse, okay, I know what a mouse is supposed to do. If I get home and put it in the computer and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, I don't care what the good service is. It's not a good product, right? So that's number one. Why do business with us? And once we understand that, real important. I'm going to kind of take you through a questioning process. And number two is to understand why people don't do business with you. That is as important as knowing what you do real well. And by the way, if you look at your competitors and realize they're doing something that you don't do, is it something that you want to do? And if it is something you want to do, well, then do it. And then is that going to mean more customers are going to come to you or clients to you instead of them? Maybe. But understanding what competitive advantages your other people in your industry have against you and use in order to get clients, I think is also important. But again, I want to emphasize, if there's a service that they're offering that you don't currently offer, that doesn't mean you have to do it. Know what you're great at and stay in your lane. And when you're ready to change lanes a little bit, there's a reason they call it an off ramp. You're off ramping. You're not making at 60 miles an hour. You're not making an immediate left turn or a right turn. You're, off ramping. So keep that in mind. I also want you to think about if there's something that you should be doing from a competitive standpoint. And I don't know what that could be, but whatever it is, it could be somebody. I'll give you an example. I call it the amenity war. In the hotel business, somebody one day said, let's give our guests a newspaper, free newspapers. And the hotel across the street said, well, that is a great idea. Do you see what they're doing over there? Let's do that too. Well, all that is copying. Now we're talking about doing something that we would want to do anyway. But rather than just copy, this smart hotelier across the street said, apparently when you come downstairs, you get your free newspaper. What if we left the newspaper sitting right outside their door? Okay, so that's the amenity war. Just how can we one-up each other? And we don't necessarily need to one-up each other, but if there is that obvious opportunity that we've missed, that we can learn from a competitor and make better and make ours, wonderful. So those are 3 steps. What do you do great? What are they doing that takes business away from you? And is there something they're doing that can bring it back? And there is 3 other questions that I like to ask, which may or may not really apply. And that is to take a look at your favorite businesses that you love and write down who they are and what you love about them. And they can be a traditional business to business type of company, or they can be a consumer company. Maybe you love Amazon more than any other company, or maybe it's Apple, or maybe it's the shoe repair down the street. But whatever it is that you love or who you love, why do you love them? And then next question, are any of these things that you love things that you can do? Example, let's say that you love Amazon. Why do you love Amazon? Well, you know what? I feel confident that when I place an order with Amazon, they send me an email. If I don't get that email, I know the order didn't go through. So I go back and I figure out why. Oh, I forgot to click this button. But I'm programmed now to understand the email. And then you know what else they do? Once they ship it, they send me another email and they tell me what the tracking information is so I can watch and see when my item's going to be here. And then they even let me know when it arrived. They take a picture of it leaning up against my door. They also take a picture of the thief that's stealing what's leaning up. No, I'm just kidding. But the point is, nobody likes to get a lot of emails, but a lot of people like to know what's going on. So, we're in the bookkeeping business. Why not let them know, hey, especially if we're doing any kind of tax preparation, if that's part of the services that we offer, where are we in the process of getting our tax? Hey, we need this from you. We received this from you. This is what's going to happen next. One of our people is going to go through, sort things out, make sure in the right columns, and then you're going to hear from us, and we're going to set up a meeting. Okay, and if I know I'm going to be receiving emails from you about setting up meetings and things are moving, I'm going to feel confident that you're paying attention to me. By the way, much of this can be automated. So it's not like you've got to spend a lot of hours doing it yourselves or having your people do it. You may spend hours on the front end getting it all set up so you can save hours and hours behind. But the point I'm trying to make is, what are the companies you love? Why do you love them? And then what are they doing that you love that you now should be doing in your business? That's the next question. And then finally, a final question. If you take a look at those first 3 questions about your direct competition, and then you look at the next 2 questions about companies you love, what they do, and can you do it, you can ask yourself the same question that you started with, which is, now that we've gone through all this, now why would a company want to do business with us, or an individual want to do business with us? And so when you do that, this is what I call the I'll be back process. The 6 questions you ask to get your clients to say, I'll be back, which is made famous by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Or if you've read my book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Different idea, but same.
Yes, absolutely. I remember us having an interview about your book, and those are still available at your bookstores and online everywhere.
Booksellers all over.
Booksellers all over. We talked about all of this, and one thing that pops into my head all the time about a lot of different things, actually, when it's is your philosophy about how much better do you need to be? And maybe just say a little bit about that. It's not that we need to be 100% better than everybody else. It's just a little bit, right?
A little better than average all the time. So this is the concept behind amazement. Amazement isn't about, if you want to create an amazing experience for your clients, you don't need to be over the top. You don't need to blow them away. That will come when the problem falls in your lap and says, oh my God, I've got to get this information for, maybe I have a new client that needs my financial information. I've got to get it right now. Will you please put together whatever the report, and you can say, yep, I'll work on it tonight. You'll have it first thing in the morning. You'll do it tonight for me. Hey, you're my client. I'll work over the weekend, do whatever it takes. You make people feel good. That's going over the top. What you need to do consistently day in and day out is do one of two things. And by the way, if you do the second thing, it actually is like the first thing. And that is to look at what's average and just be a little bit better than average. And if a scale of 1 to 5, 1 is lousy, 5 is amazing, and 3 is in the middle average, how much better? Like maybe 10%. So if you're operating at a 3.3 on a consistent basis, this is what people say. You know what? I love doing business with them. They always get back to me quickly. Whenever I call with a question, they're always so knowledgeable. They're always friendly. The word always followed by something positive means you're meeting, if not even beating ever so slightly, the expectation that they have. And the second part is, if you are consistently and predictably always meeting their expectations, and by the way, every client is going to have different expectations. So you'll find a place that you'll realize meets almost every client's expectation. And that could be how long it takes for you to return that call or email. What is the expected and accepted experience? And when you understand that and you are always hitting those expectations, why would anybody want to take a chance on anyone else?
So well said. So well said. I absolutely love it, Shep. On behalf of our listeners, I want to thank you for being on the show. And I'd love for you to share, you've already mentioned one of your books, but if there's anything that you'd like for our listener to know about you or something you've got on, please let us know where they can learn more about it and you.
Well, what I'd like to do is so much of what I do, I give away for free. And I'd love if you buy the book, go to Amazon, buy the book. If you do, great. If not, I'm not worried about it. But what I really want you to do is take advantage of everything I do at no charge. You can go onto my website, hyken.com, sign up to receive my weekly newsletter, which has a great little cartoon and usually a customer service or experience type of lesson. And you can share that with anybody on your team. You might even share it with your clients, some of the ones that make a difference or you think are important. And you always start out by saying something, I thought you might enjoy this article. I like this article because fill in the blank, and then just link to the article in the cartoon. It's fun. I also have researched that report that I mentioned earlier with the stats. That is available at no charge. As soon as you sign up for the newsletter, you automatically get emailed a link to the report. And you can, again, share that with your clients. It's a lot of stats, facts, findings. But some of that is really important for you to know to make good decisions about how much time and effort and even money you want to spend taking care of your clients.
Wonderful. Amazing, Shep. It has been an absolute pleasure having you. As I've said, on behalf of our listener, I want to thank you for your generosity coming on the show and sharing your wisdom every time. It's always mind-blowing.
Well, I always enjoy it. Thank you very much. And I look forward to the next time. Like the book, I'll be back.
I know you will. Wonderful. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.